Hey, Scott Spears back with you on a Thursday night, 90 Minutes with Scott Spears here on 97.5 WDCM. That is an FM station, 1025 in the PM. Joined in studio by Marian Catholic principal, high school principal for a few more days, Fran Voll, because if you haven't heard, Fran decided to call it a day and announce his retirement set for June the 30th. Fran, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Scott. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
It always is. We had a little conversation before we went on air there, and I thought, boy, we should be doing this on air. Talking about anything and everything.
Sure.
Why is this? Why are you doing this?
Well, I think you sometimes know when it's time to, terminate, your situation or your job. I think you take a lot of things into consideration. Certainly, as a retirement period that you come to. You think about your age. You think about how long you've been doing what you've been doing. I've been in education in some form or another for 45 years. I started out in 1966 over at Northmore School District, and had 4 very wonderful stops. And I just thought, this is a good time. 10 years. That I should maybe, pack it in.
When did you decide, personally?
Well, I've been thinking about this for a couple of years, to be honest, and the people in Columbus were a diocesan high school, and my superior down there is our superintendent of the Catholic high schools, which there are 11 in the Columbus Diocese. She and I talked about this 2 years ago, and she really didn't want me to then. And I said, fine, I'll keep going, and I did. And then last summer we ran into some real tough things with some enrollment issues, and with the enrollment issues always comes financial issues. They both counterbalance each other, and that was not a good time. That was not a good time. But I told her, I suppose somewhere after Christmas, after the first of the year, that I did want to retire at the end of the current school year.
We were talking before we went on the air here about you've been here for 10 years.
10 years.
And the 10-year period before that had seen quite a few principals.
Yeah, I think there was several principals, maybe 7 or so. I'm not exactly sure how many. But I think we did a good job, a very good staff. It's I'm partial, but it's a very good school, and we have I think some outstanding kids, and we've had outstanding kids. We continue to have outstanding kids. The class we just graduated was small in numbers, 18, but I think all of them are headed to some institution of higher learning. Most of them is going to be a 4-year program. Of the 18 kids, 3 of them had at least a 30 on their ACT test. I think we do very, very good things at Marian Catholic. Staff is extremely good.
I've never attended a private school, but I know people in the public school system who stay in a district for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Why is the turnover in a private school heavier? 7 and 10 years, and then you have your 10-year stint. Why is that?
Well, I think when you're in a parochial setting, there's so many issues that you have to look after. We don't have the tax dollars to go to. There's people that do a lot of things resource-wise in a public setting. Your job, I think, sometimes may be more defined in a public school, where I was actually known, and the term that they gave it in Columbus was as a president. I was acting like a local superintendent would act, and it's just a lot of things. You're worried about certainly academics, and fortunately I had a wonderful person by the name of Al Sider, who is going to take over my job, that did most of the academics for me. And at the same time, you have fundraising, and you have recruitment, and you have all the things that go with the whole mix to keep the school afloat.
Well, I do want to let our listeners out there know they can call in. This is a live program. 387-9326 is the telephone number. Again, 387-9326. What was your high point in the last 10 years, Fran?
Well, I think I think we've done some really good things. When I got there, I felt that the physical plant itself needed a lot of attention. We did a lot of things to the building. It's a situation, no matter where you look, there's been improvements made. I think I was pretty strong in that area with the help of my finance people, my finance committee, our endowment committee, our school board, so on and so forth. I think we put the school on solid footing. It might not have been quite there when I arrived. Always talk about a school such as ours that it could close, maybe with not enough kids, and we're kind of coming back to that a little bit, unfortunately. But I think we did that, and we saw the enrollment increase pretty good, maybe up to about 4 or 5 years ago when the gasoline prices started going out of control and the economy was starting to make some turns, and then we kind of threw ourselves back into an uphill situation, and that's just the way it is.
What personally, everybody in every job has regrets or a low point. Do you have any regrets or lows that you want to share?
Well, I'm a pretty positive guy. You know, I don't really dwell on the negative. I guess when we'd lose a student, maybe they felt it was better for them to maybe be somewhere else. I think you're always taken back by that. I think my staff is taken back by that because you think you have a good product, you think you have a good situation, and sometimes that may or may not work out. I don't think that's any different, whether it be public or parochial.
You know, it was reported in the Marion Star when you left that enrollment has been as high as 130 in your 10 years, and it ended this year with 72. Of course, you and I talked on another radio station last year when football disappeared,
right?
Which was
and that was a tough deal too. I wouldn't want to shortchange that.
Football disappeared. Enrollment's down to 72, ending this year. Mm-hmm. Does that have anything to do with this decision? I think that's the common question.
Well, I don't really think so. When I came to town, I really didn't have any type of longevity agenda that I was gonna stick to. I just felt the timing's right, and sometimes a change is good. Sometimes a change is certainly what might be needed, and you give somebody else another chance, another opportunity, like what will happen at Marion Catholic, new ideas possibly, new things that could transpire. I think that could be good. I feel very good about that part of it. I've had a good run. I've as I told some of the senior class before they graduated, they were the first ones that I mentioned anything to as far as the group is concerned. I've had 4 wonderful stops in my career, my professional career, and there's no regrets.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Marion Catholic is concerned, mm-hmm. I know last year when the football program was canceled, mm-hmm. there were a lot of rumblings from a lot of people living in the Marion community. Sure. I can attest that might be the beginning of the end for Marion Catholic mm-hmm. as a whole. And then we dipped down to 72, right. and now a 10-year stint principal right. leaves. Right. What's the outlook for Marion Catholic?
Well, I think it's there. I don't think there's any question about it. Just to back up a little bit, Scott, when we lost the football program, that was simply due to numbers. Numbers mean financial support. We've never had financial problems until we started to run into some number problems. The Bishop of Columbus, Bishop Frederick Campbell, he came to speak to the community. We had like 400 people in our gym on an October evening, and he said that that things have to get better. I mean, that's only natural. You can't operate in a deficit. And what came out of that is a real plus. Our advancement committee is a committee headed up by a man by the name of Bob New, who Bob's been around. He taught at Tri-Rivers. He's had some experience teaching both at St. Mary's and Marion Catholic. And about 24 or 25 other people that have been meeting regularly. And they have done some good things. They've put some marketing programs together. They've put some promotion programs together. They have reached out to both the people that we presently have in school, certainly to keep the retention rate up, and also at the same time looking for more students. The thing that we need at Marian Catholic is we need, and I'm not trying to point a finger at anybody or anything. There's two things. We need more support from the Catholic community in Marian. And that's sometimes tough because we only are a one parish high school. You go to the other high schools in our diocese, you're talking most of them with 3, 4, and 5, maybe even more parishes that have feeder elementary schools going into that high school. We don't. We basically are Marian St. Mary's. And we do draw some kids from small parish in Morrow County, Sacred Hearts. We do get some kids occasionally we get some from Delaware St. Mary's, Morrow County, Union County, Wyandotte County, Crawford County. So we've tried to become more of a regional type high school. And it's tough because, you're talking to kids in communities, let's say, like in Upper Sandusky. Their high school is Upper Sandusky. They may go through St. Peter's, K through 8, and then they go on to maybe Upper as a normal sequence. But we're trying to, entice and to encourage people to continue their Christian formation, I think is the way to put it, and come to Marian Catholic, and that's been tough, but I think it's a work in progress.
Do want to let the listening audience once again know the number's 387-9326. That'll ring directly into the studio. 387-9326 if you have a question for me, Fran, or anything else that has gone on in this program. When we talk about economics, Fran, it's kind of interesting because certainly the public schools have not had their problems.
Every one of us have felt things of this type.
Does a private school feel it more hard, is it, than a public school?
It's hard to say right now because of certainly the program cutbacks that other schools have had, our public schools. But we kind of start from scratch with not a lot of seed money, from the tax duplicate that the people are paying, property taxes and so on and so forth. We do have some eligible funds from state and federal government, that that we're able to utilize because of certain things we do in our school, state mandated testing, attendance. You have such things as tornado drills, fire drills. The state gives us money for non-religious type equipment. So the state legislature has been, in Ohio, the state legislature has been pretty good to the parochial schools, much better than most states. A lot of people probably don't realize that. But it's all based on numbers. It's all based on kids, and if you don't have the kids, you don't get those funds. So it's a two-edged sword. If you don't have enough kids, now you're hurting on the other side of the ledger, trying to keep the whatever funds you have available to you, either tuition or from these other sources, federal and state sources. That's the situation. And the public schools face it with their open enrollment. Kids are moving around. It's a different age today. It's not like it was 20, 30 years ago. It's not unusual for kids to maybe think, well, maybe I want to go to another school, and away they go. And these are things, Scott, that you didn't used to see years and years ago. You start off and you went to that school for the whole time.
It's very interesting to me that we talk about attendance at Marian Catholic being as high as 130 at one time, and then we had the football team, and the festival on the Green was something I left out there. People loved in this community. And then, as you said, gas prices jump up, things start to happen economically. The economic situation is obviously not better. We're still teetering on $4 a gallon.
Yes, we are.
Is there anything?
Is there any alternative?
What's the alternative?
Well, I think we've reached out. We've tried to reach out to our alumni. A lot of our support comes from out of town. People who have come through Marian, gone through the two schools, have gone off to be very, very successful. We've really nurtured some of those relationships in the last 10 years. I think we've done a pretty good job with that, maybe in a manner that had not been done before. And I continue to do that, and I'm willing to continue to do that, even being retired, because that is a huge ingredient for our school. And those relationships that we've built, we don't want to lose. We have Leslie Slemons, who does our auction, and she's our alumni director, development director. We work with her. I work with her. I spent a lot of time, to be honest, Scott, on the exterior of the school in those kind of relationships, much more than I have on the interior, where Al has done such a wonderful job and kept our academics at a very, very high level.
What does retirement mean to you?
Well, I don't know. I was up at Bowling Green today. I'm on the board of trustees up there, and I was attending a function, a dedication of a plaza area in front of their new convocation center, and that was asked to me today, and I said I really don't have any idea. I guess I'm going to find out. People I talk to, the emails I get from people in my class that I went to high school with, they say it's wonderful. Well, I have no idea. I've never been in that situation. I've always had every day something to go to, something to do. I've never been unemployed. I've always had a job ever since I left college, but we'll see. I'd like to see what happens, see what takes place over the summer, and see where we go. I will do something certainly for Marian Catholic on a volunteer basis as a support person. I'm more than willing to do that. We have not made any thoughts or had any thoughts about leaving Marian. My wife and I like Marian. I was born and raised here. My children are not in Marian, but we're in the middle of the state. We're in the heart of it all. And I like the location. I like a lot of things about our town.
And I can get where I want to get in pretty quick fashion.
Yeah, pretty short order.
Yeah.
Once 2 weeks pass, when you walk out of there on June the 30th, 2 weeks pass, what's it going to be like that next Monday morning?
Well, I hope my golf game gets a little better.
Well, what's it now?
It's not very good.
It's not very good.
But I haven't really done much with it. Now, and all kidding aside, I will certainly be, doing some things on a daily basis, like I think you need to do. I have good pals. Phil Reed's one of them. Phil, he volunteers at Marian Catholic all the time. Phil's was a tremendous employee, associate, not even employee, associate of our school. Phil's very popular in our community, everything he does. He and I have talked a little bit. He kind of likes what he does, and I guess those are the kind of people that I might get some inside information from.
Well, this begs an interesting question, not just because of Phil, but just in general. Would you ever go into politics?
I've given that some thought.
I would have guessed you would have.
Yeah, I have. And, but I don't have anything right now that in mind, but that would be one of the things that I think I would like to look at.
I think that would be, now people are listening now. People beating down the door now.
Well, it's certainly something that I've enjoyed. I actually served on a city council when I was in Delphus. I served on city council for 10 years when I was a teacher at that school, not making a lot of money, and somebody, I think it was on the other side of my political vein, that encouraged me to do it. And I enjoyed that, and those are wonderful things to do, and we need good people doing those kind of things.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, Fran, when I heard this news, I'd never been to Marian Catholic, or never have been a student at Marian Catholic, but I was sad because you are very closely associated with that school, and as I've told you before, the television commercials you did a few years ago, I thought were some of the most fantastic bits of just broadcasting commercials that I thought, they were fantastic.
I had a chance to do some TV work when I was at BG, and I was out of coaching. I was associate athletic director, and I was really a development person for the athletic department. So I did some TV. We did some games live. Basketball was my bag, and I did a lot of the color. I did a lot of the interviewing process. I also did some work on with the radio, WFOB for Astoria, Bowling Green. And Dave Horger is a very good friend of mine. He was the play-by-play guy for BG Sports. So I've been around this, and I enjoy that too, Scott.
You could be creeping in here. You could be creeping in here. We'll never know. Final question for
There's
you.
a lot of things I enjoy.
Well, and you should stay active.
Sure,
you should.
sure.
One thing I want to ask you. Final question is, leaving, and I know you don't have any regrets. You're good like that. But leaving when enrollment is at a low like this, is that hard?
Well, it is. No, I don't think there's any question about that. I didn't feel I could wait. I thought, the time. I guess when it's time to maybe make a change or to retire. I guess it's making a change too, not just the retirement thing, where you're going to go off in the sunset or something like that. But I think when it's time to move on and maybe to look for some new directions, and for the school to look for some new directions.
Transition.
It's a transition thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's always tough to leave jobs. It's not so tough to leave the jobs as it is to leave the people. My daily interaction with my people at Marian Catholic, my staff. I have a wonderful secretary, Marianne Villegas, our bookkeeper, Terry Clements, who you work with at Sears.
Yes.
Our people, our custodian, Larry Buchanan. I mean, you see these people every day. Every day you're talking about family. You're talking about how things are going. If somebody's hurting in an organization, you hurt too. And I think the same thing applies, particularly like with a school, when you have a group of kids and somebody's parent is having some difficulties or something's going on, or there's been a death in the family. These things are all very lifelike. And I guess in education, and there's a lot of people out there, including my sister who taught first grade at Pearl Street for many, many years. In education, this is the way it is. It's an interaction with folks. So to go from that, not just being isolated in some kind of a job setting all my life, I've been around people. So I need to continue to do that. I do know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Fran, you're a great guy. Thank you for coming in here after 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Listen, my pleasure.
Take care.
I'll go back and see who's winning the ball game.
There you go. And we'll stay in touch.
I hope so, Scott. And anytime you need me, I'm ready to come.
Fran Voll, a great guy. If you see him before the 30th, wish him happy retirement. If you see him after that, just say hello. Good Marion community person.
We'll see him around, maybe in the coffee shop.
We'll be back right after this.
Thanks, Scott.